Hello and welcome back, my friends. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you a valuable piece of information to help you to grow and produce the healthiest fruit trees in your garden with heavy blossom sets followed by heavy fruit sets so that you can reap an abundant harvest. You're not going to want to miss this. Stay tuned. Growing your own fruit trees at home is easy and so very rewarding. Heading out to your yard, harvesting directly off the tree at peak ripeness, there's not much else that compares to it. With that being said, there's many a gardener who have struggled with growing healthy fruit trees and reaping an abundant fruit harvest. But the solution to this problem that you're having could be easier than you ever imagined. Today's video is all about watering your fruit trees. Believe it or not, there's a right and a wrong way, and I'm going to explain that to you today. So here we are, standing next to one of my all-time favorite fruit trees growing in my garden, the pineapple guava, also known as the feijoa. Now this particular fruit tree can grow out and look more like a shrub, or it can be pruned to resemble more of a traditional tree-like structure. But regardless of the variety of fruit tree you're growing, the principle that is going to be shared on this video remains the same. When you're watering, what you want to do is water at what's known as the drip line. That is the area where the feeder roots are extended past the tree trunk. They gather up nutrients, they gather up water, and help to produce the healthiest fruit trees. Now, the easiest way to determine where the drip line and those feeder roots are located around your particular fruit tree is to simply follow out the furthest reaching limbs from the canopy of your tree. This is basically a mirror of the root system that is developed below the ground, so you know exactly where those roots are located. And you can see here by the shadow of the limbs coming from this tree, that's exactly where the feeder roots are located. So that's where I want to water, about 5 feet from the trunk of this particular tree. But depending on the size of your tree and how far it bushes out, that drip line may be much further than 5 feet or even closer to the tree's trunk if it's a younger tree. So here's what you don't want to do, and I see this all the time. And for this example, we'll be using this apium tree, since you can clearly see the trunk. Most of us have been guilty of watering like this at some point in our gardening experience. You see what I'm doing here is I'm watering up close to the tree's trunk, but there's no feeder roots there. There's no roots that are going to uptake that water. By watering this way, we're actually more likely to cause something known as root rot. If we waterlog this area near the base of the tree, the larger roots that have developed are just going to be sitting in water rather than taking it up. And here's the correct way to water. So we're going to observe the tree and see where those furthest branches are reaching out to. And we're going to water right where those branches end, which is where the drip line is located. This is where the feeder roots are reaching out to. And they're going to be happy to get a nice drink of water today. So as you can see on this tree, I'm reaching out at about 7 feet from the tree's trunk. Now, it's not going to hurt anything if you do give a little bit of water closer to the tree, just enough to keep the soil moist so it doesn't crack and get overly dry. But just realize the water that you're putting up here close to the trunk is not actually feeding the tree. So if I were to set up a sprinkler to water this tree, which I sometimes do, I'd place it again right around the drip line. Now, the length of time that you water and the frequency that you water your fruit trees is also very important. Fruit trees don't need water but maybe once a week, but they do need a good soaking. So if you were to set up something like a sprinkler, a good 20-25 minute cycle is going to be enough to fully penetrate the soil around the drip line, allowing those roots to uptake moisture over the course of the next week. Any longer than that, and you could potentially risk overwatering your plants as well. Watering for a shorter duration than that could actually be the cause for your tree's stunted growth, lack of blossoms, lack of fruit. And overwatering can have the same detrimental effect. So do your best to dial it in by observing and interacting with your landscape. Your trees are going to give you all the information you need. Are they looking healthy? Are the tips of each branch still growing out? Do you see newer green growth occurring? Do the leaves look healthy? Although there are other factors that can affect your tree's health, such as the fertilization schedule, disease, bacteria, pests, that sort of thing, Proper watering is the #1 thing that you could be doing for your fruit trees, in my opinion, to sustain health. And if your tree's healthy and not stressed out, you're going to be able to avoid a lot of the pest and disease issues that happen from a weakened, stressed out fruit tree. A better option to help you determine the proper amount of moisture in your garden soil is to pick up something called the soil moisture meter. It has a probe that you stick down in the ground, and it's going to tell you exactly how much moisture is in the soil so that you can dial it in precisely. It's important to note, however, especially for the newer gardeners out there, that not all fruit trees require the same amount of watering. So you're going to need to determine and dial in the amount of moisture that each one of your trees needs. But for example, my citrus tree is going to require a lot more watering than my pomegranate tree, which requires very little. Maybe once every 2 months will I water my pomegranate tree, and we get hot and dry here. We're talking 100+ degrees Fahrenheit and dry spells that last 6 or 7 months. So again, observe and interact with the fruit trees growing in your landscape, in your garden. They're going to tell you all the information you need if you're doing it the right way or the wrong way. And in a short amount of time, you're going to have your watering schedule dialed in for peak production. My friends, take care of your fruit trees and they're going to take care of you. It all starts with proper watering and adequate moisture in the soil. And so with that, I want to thank you all for watching. Have yourself a great rest of the day. Until next time, this is Dan from plantabundance.com. Take care. I'll be talking to you again soon.